For years, he had been listening to stories from various sources, and one day he decided to share his own experience, an event that had only been known to his family. This incident took place during the lockdown in 2020, when the entire country was shut down. However, some areas remained unaffected, including a certain locality where restrictions were not as strictly enforced. In that locality, there were a few areas where markets and public spaces were completely sealed off by authorities. Near one of these restricted zones, a woman lived with her daughter, who suffered from seizures. Whenever her condition worsened, they had to rush her to the hospital, often opting for government medical facilities due to financial constraints. During the lockdown, hospitals had become difficult to access, with strict policies requiring COVID-19 tests before admitting patients, adding to the fear and anxiety of the situation. One night, the phone rang unexpectedly. It was the woman crying and pleading for immediate help. Her daughter was having severe seizures, and blood was coming from her nose. Hearing this, he felt his heart sink, fear gripping him. Without informing his mother to avoid alarming her, he quickly gathered money and essentials, knowing they had to get to the hospital as soon as possible. Leaving his house in a hurry, he rode his motorcycle through eerily deserted streets. His route took him through a desolate area near a railway track, which was infamous for its filth and abandonment. Strangely, even at that hour, black oxen and cows were sitting amidst the garbage, an unusual sight that sent a chill down his spine. Trying to dismiss his fear, he convinced himself they were just animals. Just as he reached the garbage-filled area, his motorcycle suddenly stopped. No matter how many times he kicked the start lever, the engine refused to turn on. Frustrated, he checked the wheels under the dim glow of his phone's flashlight, but found nothing wrong. Yet it felt as if the bike had become unnaturally heavy, as though someone was sitting behind him. At that moment, from a nearby alley, a man pushing a cart emerged. He was calling out loudly, advertising for scrap metal and old newspapers, which struck him as extremely odd. Who would be selling scrap at such an hour? The man appeared strange, tall, unnaturally thin, wearing traditional clothes, and continuously laughing in an unsettling manner. The stranger approached closer, his laughter becoming more eerie. Irritated and alarmed, he asked the man why he was laughing and who he expected to sell to at this hour. The man gave no reply, only continuing to laugh, his face twisted as if paralyzed. Then he sat on his cart, resting his chin on his hands, staring at him while still laughing. Suddenly, the previously resting animals stood up, their tails swishing aggressively, indicating distress. It seemed as though they were preparing to charge at him. Panic set in. If these animals attacked, he had no escape. Turning back, he saw the strange man still laughing, but now hurling profanities at him. Frightened, he began reciting prayers, and as he did, the man fell silent. Moments later, the eerie figure started shouting vulgar curses from a distance. Mustering all his strength, he abandoned his motorcycle and ran toward the main road. When he finally reached a well-lit area, he turned back and saw nothing. No animals, no cart, just his fallen motorcycle. Out of nowhere, the sound of sirens echoed, and a police vehicle stopped beside him. Officers questioned him, and he explained his urgency, showing them his identification. Though skeptical, they eventually let him go. Still shaken, he requested them to escort him a little further. The officers agreed and accompanied him for some distance. Upon reaching his sister's home, he was visibly pale, his body shivering with fever. The events of that night haunted him, a terrifying experience forever etched in his memory. That eerie, lockdown night was something he would never forget. To this day, he wonders, what would others have done if they had been in his place?